How much are you willing to pay for your early access games? That's a topic I've been thinking about over the last 24 hours. I tried this game live not supported on my second channel, JPG Craft, yesterday, streamed it with Kyra on Fire, and it was fun, but it's definitely got some limitations, and I did feel like it's probably a bit too expensive for what's on offer. So that got me thinking about other games I've played recently and whether or not they truly have enough value in them. Things are getting hard, games are getting more expensive to make, and the cost of living is obviously increased for a lot of people. But with indie games and especially early access titles being so many of them, I do find it a bit odd that some games are kind of overpricing themselves and losing out on players. So I'm going to dive into that at the end of the video, but also give you a quick breakdown of some new game news. Planet Crafters just had a brand new update launched today, and Craftopia has got its big World Seamless update incoming tomorrow after a slight delay. So all that, let's go. It's an impromptu mini survival show. Planet Crafter was a semi-viral hit when it launched on Steam last year, and it's had a slew of updates. Developed by a little husband and wife duo, it's been going from strength to strength, and the latest update is live today, adding new decoration and cooking items, as well as the ability to trade off planet. They've also updated some biomes, added some new secrets, and maybe genetic engineering with frogs. It's had some cool little updates. I did think the game was just a bit too bare bones for me and sedentary. I needed a little bit more challenge and kind of danger, but yeah, it seems to be really popular. So let me know what you think about the update. So Craftopia's latest update, the Seamless World update, was meant to go live today, but it looks like it's had a minor delay. In fact, it's going to be going live tomorrow in Japan, which will probably still be the early hours of the morning here in the UK. So like 4 o'clock in the morning, or maybe around midnight in America still. It's one of them games that I thought could be interesting years ago before it launched. Then it launched and it was kind of just a barely there tech alpha. It's obviously heavily influenced by Breath of the Wild and stuff, but it does have some serious survival mechanics in it and of course automation. It's been in early access, or it was on the Xbox Game Preview and Steam, but actually arrived out of Game Preview on Xbox last year. I do believe it left the Game Pass as well. So is it any good? I don't know. I might actually dive back into it and have a look. I was kind of put off a little bit by the jankiness of it, but like I said, it's had a bunch of updates since, and they're promising to keep developing it. This isn't the end of the game, obviously. They're going to be doing more regular updates apparently as well, but they still are working on their next one already, which is obviously Power World, basically a Pokemon ripoff with guns, and yeah, obviously that's going to be coming hopefully at the start of next year in January. So I checked out Life Not Supported on my second channel, JPG Crafted, with Kyra on Fire. We streamed it, and yeah, we had some fun mucking around. It's very basic bones, and this also brought a kind of the topic of how much you're willing to pay for an early access title. This game is currently around £13, so about $15, and when it comes out of its discount period, it's going to be about 15 quid, so about $17, $18, maybe 20. And it does puzzle me how sometimes some games just really overvalue what they've really got here. This is a cool little game. It's made by an entrepreneurial gameplay maker. It's his first game, and don't really want to punch down on someone trying something. But you've got to be able to price your game correctly and rightly. And at the price this is, for what the content is in the game, it's clearly way too much. And I thought about other games recently as well, like Forever Skies, Small Land. They all had like reasonable price points, you would assume sometimes. 20 to 25 bucks or 25 to $30. It's not that much, is it? For a game that's going to maybe give you 15 or 20 hours of game time. And obviously you've got updates incoming. But when you look at the actual player numbers and how many people actually bought Small Land or have already bought Forever Skies, some of the numbers aren't as what I expected. I expected both games to kind of blow up a little bit more than they did. Forever Skies, I estimate, and loosely estimate by the way, using kind of industry stuff that you can gauge, I reckon they've probably sold or close to 40,000 copies, and that's like generating 800,000 maybe dollars in revenue. Now you got to take cuts out of that for Steam, 30%, publishing costs, maybe if they've got a publisher. I don't think they have, they do it off their own back, and they've got a bunch of other costs as well, like marketing and more, but you would estimate they're probably going to still take around 30 to 40% of that actually as their own for their studio to pay their staff and carry on developing. Give it another 6-8 weeks, and trending on other games similar to it in the past, they probably will hit 100,000 copies sold in the next 4 to 5 weeks. Maybe a bit longer, maybe 2 months, but i.e. that's definitely running into millions of revenue. And with their price point being fairly high, I could see that happening. The flip side to that is though, if they'd lowered their game price by maybe just $5, I think a bunch more people would have bought Forever Skies. I've seen so many other games like I've shown off earlier, like Planet Crafter, that sold really cheap and had a huge influx of players in the early days. And so while you're missing out on like $5 of revenue for each sale, surely it's better to effectively double the player base that you could have and keep them involved and help support you in other ways by free marketing and promo, by keeping your player numbers up. And that has a knock-on effect on me as well. Like, I've made some guides for Forever Skies. I haven't done amazing. I'm seeing other creators cover the game and no one's really going out of the world with this. Time of year as well, summer, it is a bit more of a hard time on YouTube. But with a player base of only 5,000 players at the moment, Forever Skies doesn't really warrant me covering long term, like in terms of keeping more content going than I really should. And that's my channel anyway. I generally stick to games and then I'll move on to the next one. I've always done that pretty quickly, unless it's something big or massive like obviously Valheim or Sons of the Forest or Ark, etc. So that's a bit of a selfish point of view from my side of things, but looking at how much is generated, yeah, I just feel like it's a bit of a missed opportunity. And same thing with Smallland in the past as well. I feel that game really maybe didn't have enough in the tank. So that's my view, but you guys, what do you expect when you buy early access title? Are you trying to buy the promise of a fully finished game and you're just happy to contribute and take part in these updates and the launch? Or do you measure an early access title by how much gameplay it's given you, how much fun obviously, and you're going to review it properly, but how much content there is? I do tend to lean on the old age trope of like how many hours you've got in the game, and that's relative to how much you're going to pay. I do honestly believe that more indie games should get paid more money for their games because some of them are so good and so great, much better than the garbage you've seen from bigger companies. But everything's relative, and in a downturn of economics with people struggling for money, game devs struggling for money isn't really that big a deal to me and not something I'm going to be that worried about or trying to actively support, since the gaming industry has made more money than ever in the last few years. So to me, you're kind of pricing yourself out of getting more fans by making your game too expensive. And this really got hammered home by this game, Life Without Oxygen, or Life Not Supported. I liked the demo of this last year. I gave it a shot on the channel. I thought it had, great potential. But in that year since, it doesn't seem to have really evolved as much as I thought it could. And it's kind of seemingly one note, building these bases out of just really kind of metal and chrome. And the basic gameplay with dying every 2 seconds, try and get oxygen, wasn't enough guidance. There was kind of glitches and bugs with it, stuff you might expect. But for 15 quid, $20, I was expecting a bit more. That's the price it will be when it leaves its early access, little 10%, 20% discount that a lot of these games do. If this game had sold maybe 9, 10 quid, I think a lot of people would be more forgiving of any problems or issues. And taking a quick look at how many copies it sold, well, it's only got about 25 reviews, so be lucky if it sold maybe even 1,000 copies. It's super hard being a game dev. I have done some work with that. I worked with a game last year and it was really tough, really challenging seeing the other side. So I'm not punching down, I'm not trying to have a go at any developers I've mentioned. It's purely just a talking point about what early access can mean. I don't think we're at the point yet where too many early access titles should be increasing their prices. I think there's still healthy competition and you've got to show you've got a game that's great, it's got enough content to last when you start your early access journey, and that you've got a good roadmap and you're going to hit updates that will please your fans. Valheim is pretty slow with their updates, but oh my god, it was one of the best games ever when it launched. It had more than enough content, more content than I've seen in a whole bunch of early access titles after their complete program through early access. Hence why Valheim got played by 10 million players, made millions, and it's got unanimously overwhelming positive reviews. Not every game can be a Valheim, and that's the holy grail of game dev. But yeah, you got to think, if you can't really support your game in terms of money for your team going forward after launch, or recoup some of the expenses you already put into it, and the only way to do so is by increasing costs, I just don't know. I don't know if that's really a good thing for long-term games. Flip side of that, Green Hell only had about 2,000 players when it first launched, then it crept up to about 5,000 I do believe with certain updates, and then about 19,000 or something like that when it hit 1.0. That game has now sold millions, 4.5 million across consoles and PC, and obviously funding their next game Chimera while still doing good updates for it. So just because I talk about some things, I'm no expert. Like I said, I can only give an opinion based on certain factors. But it is that element of time as well, with so many games having updates, like 7 Days to Die at the moment on PC, Rust, Ark, Conan, Alright, maybe not Ark, but the rest of the games all have regular updates and stuff, and all these other small indie games like Planetcraft are getting updates. It's your time that's got to be worth investing in these stuffs as well, not just the pricing. So there you go, I've waffled on enough. Let me know what you look for when you buy an early access title. Does it matter really the amount of content? Are you just happy to support and see that idea? Do you want to see exactly that ratio of how many hours you'll be playing it? Let me know in the comment section. Bit of a weird one today, but I'm just trying to be a bit more real and give you more opinions. I mean, I'll always give you my opinions, but talk about stuff that I find interesting rather than just hyping up the latest updates. There we go. Until next time, ratbags, I'll see you later.